If you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do, all these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
What is up, you guys, and welcome to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Cynthia, and happy Thursday, everyone. I hope you all are having an okay or great week, and I say okay, again, just due to our social climate at the moment and with all the protests that are still ongoing. And I just hope that everyone's staying safe if you are out there protesting. And I hope that just, everyone take care of one another, look out for one another, respect one another, love one another. Just let's try to exude, as much positivity right now and try not to, overindulge in the media and what's going on Twitter, because that's been a huge issue for me lately. I feel like for me personally, it's been kind of hard to disconnect from everything that's going on right now. I'm stuck between I want to stay informed, I want to stay on top of it, but I also I'm getting stressed out, because I'm seeing all of these things pop up. So it's definitely important to, take those mental health checks, those breaks. Those are super important so you don't feel consumed with so much crazy things that are going on right now. And with all that being said, I still hope that you guys are, just still having a great week, trying to stay positive and healthy, most importantly, since we are still in the midst of a global health pandemic. I almost forgot. And with all of that being said, in terms a mental health check-in, trying to disconnect from social media, that's how I kind of created today's episode, calling all bookworms, okay? Since this whole thing started, really since quarantine started, I have forced myself, not really kind of forced. I kind of forced myself to start reading. And I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. I wasn't always the biggest fan of reading. I think high school and college ruined a lot of that for me. I know most of you students agree. They give you books that you are disinterested in, and I'm not interested. I don't think disinterested is a word. Oh my God. Anyway, I promise I'm reading. So I'm always reading these books, and throughout high school and college, books that I wasn't really into. They weren't enticing to me. I just couldn't get into the reading. And I think that's why I kind of pushed reading to the side, just because, I don't know, I think I had that mentality of, reading's boring. Reading is takes too much time, too much energy, whatever. But the key to reading is to find subjects, books, authors that you enjoy, and that will make reading much more enjoyable. I'm still fairly new to reading. I'm just finishing up my second book of the year. I know we're in June. I know most people read through a whole book every month. I know I'm late, but it's better late than never, right? So I am reading my second book right now. I'm actually close to finishing, so that's good. And the first book I already talked about a lot, which is The Power of Now, that speaks a lot on spiritual enlightenment, heavy emphasis on living in the present, living in the now, because right now is all what we'll ever have, not what we're going to have in 5 minutes, what will happen 5 minutes ago. It's this precise moment right now. And that book was super life-changing. I won't go into much depth about that book because I feel like I've talked about the power of now multiple times. But it is such an amazing book. That book is a bestseller. And that book really just gave me a new perspective on how to face challenges in my life. And just kind of sit back and reevaluate and be like, is this going to affect my life in 5 years? Is this going to matter within 5 minutes, 5 days? So it definitely took me out of my own little bubble and just kind of gave me a new lens, a different outlook. So The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I believe I pronounced his name right. Hopefully Eckhart Tolle. And I will actually give you guys my second book recommendation, or the book that I'm currently reading, at the end of today's episode. So stay tuned for that. But as I was saying, so with all of this going on, for those new listeners who are tuning in, I do deal with anxiety. I actually was taken to urgent care in the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. I had a panic attack, and since then I've been kind of struggling with that, where I just get these really random attacks out of nowhere. And reading has really helped me with that, especially at nighttime. I don't know what it is at night. I'm sure most of you can relate when you lay your head down on the pillow, and all of a sudden all your worries and stresses hit you right there. And that's been happening to me lately, especially with Black Lives Matter movement, everything that's going on. And I've just been feeling a lot of anxiety, and it's been catching up to me, especially trying to go to bed. So reading has helped me so much. Reading has literally I can feel my body relax and calm down. So that's what I want to really talk about in today's episode. I want to talk about the amazing health benefits of reading that I wish I would have learned and paid attention to sooner. I'm going to also talk about the strange science between empathy and reading. And I thought this was really important to include in today's episode, since I feel like empathy is what a lot of people lack. I feel like if we are more empathetic towards each other, then a lot of situations and their outcomes would come out differently, especially, right now. Right now, our social climate is the perfect example of that, of not being empathetic towards each other. So I wanted to really emphasize on that matter in today's episode. And then I'll also talk about how picture books help kids develop literacy skills and much, much more. So definitely want to stay tuned for today's episode, especially for all my bookworms out there, because I'm trying to become a bookworm, not on purpose, but I think I need to learn more about different genres of books. I need to discover new authors. I really enjoy self-help books. And actually the book that I'll be recommending to you guys today is a poem. It's a book of poems, and I never thought I'd be into poems. Same thing with books. Reading poems in high school, I was like, oh my God, this is so boring. I don't understand it. But now I have a newfound love for poems, and my whole outlook on just books has changed so much. So if you guys want to leave some suggestions for me to read, please, I encourage you, help me comment them below or in the comment section. I definitely want to hear from you guys, or you can tweet me at GSMC_health. I would love to read some of the book recommendations that you guys suggest, and even fiction. Actually, the only fiction books I remember really liking growing up are the series of Unfortunate Events. I forgot who's the author of that series, but I think I'd be down for fiction. Just comment whatever, please, because I would really like to know what you guys are reading, what you're interested in. And like I said, reading has definitely helped me during these times of anxiety, times when I need to disconnect from my phone. I keep myself busy reading, and I just get lost in a trance with these words in the pages. And honestly, I'm like so thankful that I have the luxury of reading, because even just having the luxury of having a book or reading skills, I mean, not everyone has the opportunity. So I'm extremely privileged and I'm thankful for that. So you guys, I'm going to come to our very first break right now. When we come back, we're going to get into some of the health benefits of reading.
Are you looking to learn more about the latest trends from the fitness world? Are you confused by all of the different trends that are out there? The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place for you. The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place to come for people of all skill and interest levels. Join us as we explore the latest trends in the fitness world. Does that new exercise really work? Should I try yoga? Whatever your question, chances are good you'll find an answer on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So I'm super excited now get into some of the health benefits of reading. A couple of these may be familiar to you guys. They may have been drilled into your mind from like teachers saying, read because it's good for vocabulary, whatever. And a couple of these you may not know, because a few of these health benefits I didn't know. You can gain these benefits from reading. So I'm super excited to share it with you guys. And for instance, it's a proven fact that reading can help reduce stress. Many of us take this simple act for granted because we have so much required reading in our daily lives, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, or in the previous segment, not podcast. In the previous segment, we have a lot of required reading in our day-to-day lives, including things like the newspaper. Who really reads a newspaper nowadays? Anyway, there are some folks who still read the newspaper, okay? The newspaper, let's just say, traffic signs, emails, and bills. But how often do we actually read for pleasure? And I think this is why many individuals struggle with reading, like myself, or at least used to, because there was a lot of required reading in my life, and that required reading is no fun. So that took away a lot of the pleasure of, just reading for pure enjoyment. So I'm very excited that I refound that love for reading. And reading can be a wonderful and helpful, and healthy escape from the stress of everyday life. Simply by opening a book, you allow yourself to be invited into a literary world that distracts you from your daily stressors. And reading can even relax your body by lowering your heart rate and easing the tension in your muscles. And I feel like this is 1000% true. Like I said, I read to help reduce my anxiety and stress, especially at night. And I literally can feel my body like slow down, my heart rate slowed down. So that's for sure a proven fact. A 2009 study at the University of Sussex found that reading can reduce stress by up to 68%. That's an enormous amount. 68%. It works better and faster than other relaxation methods such as listening to music or drinking a hot cup of tea. This is because your mind is invited into a literary world that is free from the stressors that plague your daily life. Dr. David Lewis, the neuroscientist who conducted this study, reported that reading is more than merely a distraction, but an active engaging of the imagination, as the words on the printed page stimulate your creativity and cause you to enter what is essentially an altered state of consciousness. Woo, okay. I like the sound of that. Let me repeat it again. Reading is more than merely a distraction, but an active engaging of the imagination as the words on the printed page stimulate your creativity and cause you to enter what is essentially an altered state of consciousness. I love that. I love that he spoke on that. The Power of Now, the book that I mentioned in the previous segment. I'm sure many of you have read that book by now. Speaks all about elevating our consciousness, being on a higher consciousness. When we are in a higher state of consciousness, we literally can make smarter decisions. Our decision-making skills are like heightened, and I love that Dr. David Lewis touched on this. It turns out that getting lost in a good book truly is the ultimate form of relaxation. Reading is found to decrease blood pressure, lower heart rate, and reduce stress to significant degrees. Again, all of those are true because I definitely feel those effects. And you know what's crazy, you guys? I used to think that to read to like fall asleep or read to relax, I thought you'd have to sleep for or read for at least an hour or so. But that's not the case. Only 6 minutes of reading can slow down the heart rate and improve overall health. It calms the mind and relaxes the body. And this will not only help prevent potential conditions caused by stress, but will also set up a person with a clearer mind. So again, I just said this, it sharpens your critical thinking skills and your decision-making skills. And the fact that you only need 6 minutes of reading, that's amazing. However, the 6 minutes, you need to be entirely focused in what it is you're reading. You can't be reading and then have your phone like checking Twitter and like going back and forth. That's not going to work. You have to completely eliminate all distractions in your vicinity, and you have to just like solely focus on the words on the page in order to really the effects of your heart rate slowing down and your body, come and relax as well. Reading also helps the mind engage with imagination and creativity. For both the young and old, reading strengthens vocabulary and helps with focus. Unfortunately, not everyone in the world has access to books. Even worse, many cannot even read one single word and do not have the support or resources to learn to read, which I didn't know this until I got older. I thought, I grew up thinking everybody can read, and that's just not the case. The book you choose doesn't have to be like on any bestseller list like the one that I chose, The Power of Now. The important thing is that the subject matter has captured your interest and will provide a space for your mind to relax in every day. So that's really what counts, is that as long as it just like captures your interest, it'll help your mind and body relax. Reading only helps reduce your stress if you pick something you enjoy that won't upset you, okay? So reading the news or reading the news on Twitter may not be the best choice if it makes you feel angry or helpless. I would suggest, pick a novel where you can escape into another world, or read about an activity that you enjoy, whether it be like a hobby, travel, cooking. So definitely something maybe like a little more lighthearted, or a fiction novel that takes you to like a different world, a different dimension that you get like really drawn in. Please, you guys, comment down below like fiction novels that you guys really enjoy. I would love to hear about it. I really don't know any good adult fiction novels. Like I said, I've really just been reading into self-help books, which I love those too, but sometimes I kind of like to like switch it up. So please leave your recommendations in the comment section. And this next health benefit is one that I did not know about, but it makes total sense. Reading combats mental decline in Alzheimer's with old age. The benefits of reading expand beyond reduced anxiety and stress. Studies have linked reading to good brain health in old age, and individuals who read regularly across their lifespan showed increased mental capacity as they aged. And again, this makes sense because your brain is a muscle and you have to continuously work out your brain, essentially. Those individuals who read less frequently throughout their life and did not continue to engage their brains in old age experience a mental decline rate that was 48% faster than those who kept their brains active across their lives. One study found a positive association between cognitive-based activities such as reading and a decreased chance of developing Alzheimer's disease. So just like the heart, the brain is a muscle that needs to be taken care of in order to function at its fullest capacity throughout our lifetime. So even if you are, elderly and in a wheelchair and you can't move, it's really important to read and to continue stimulating your brain, your mind, keep it actively working so that way you are able to reduce your chances of Alzheimer's. So that is one, like I said, I did not know that, and that makes total sense. Next is doctors have prescribed reading as a treatment for certain mental health conditions. 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience a mental illness at some point in their lives. Reading self-help books has proven to be an effective method for helping adults cope with mental illness. In the UK, doctors have embraced the approach of using bibliotherapy, okay? That is a term I've never heard before, but bibliotherapy is a treatment through the use of books. I did not know there was such terminology, but good to know. So the UK doctors, they embrace this approach of using bibliotherapy for patients with mental health conditions. And doctors have been incorporating required reading as part of a patient's prescription. So the goal is, to bring the benefits of reading to millions of patients with anxiety and depression. And again, that is so amazing. I did not know that this was actually like a treatment that doctors can prescribe to patients called bibliotherapy. And I love that. Again, for the new listeners tuning in right now, I'm more into alternative medicine. I'm whatever, like the natural holistic healing, I'm all for. So any natural remedies, I am 1000% backing up. And the fact that, instead of prescribing pills or actual medicine for the patients, they're incorporating reading as part of the prescription. And I love that. And we're going to take a really quick break right now. When we come back, I'm going to give you guys a few more benefits of reading.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So we just got done talking about how reading combats mental decline and Alzheimer's with old age, and as well how doctors in the UK have embraced the approach of using bibliotherapy, which is basically the treatment of using books for patients with mental health conditions. And moving on to our next health benefit of reading, people who read often become more empathetic. So I believe this is true. As if stress and improve mental health and healthy brain function weren't enough, reading can also help individuals become more empathetic and increase their self-awareness. In particular, reading literary fiction can increase one's understanding of others and improve relationships. This is why I'm telling y'all, please give me suggestions on what fiction, but good adult fiction novels to read. Okay, I'm trying to become a more empathetic person. I feel like I'm already pretty empathetic. I would say I like to put myself in other people's shoes and understand their walks of life. I am a Cancer, so they do say that we are pretty empathetic. As readers become engrossed, in a storyline, they empathize with characters and learn their motivations and behavior patterns. And this increases a person's understanding of human behavior, which is knowledge that carries over to life outside of a novel. Furthermore, when readers select novels that are set in locations with cultures other than their own, they further develop an awareness of diverse human populations and perspectives. So with all of these benefits, there's no doubt that reading is truly the powerhouse of leisure activities. So when you're done listening to this podcast, why not shut down all your electronic devices and pick up a good book? Because I'm definitely going to be doing that after finding out all of these amazing health benefits. And what really enticed me was how reading can make people more empathetic. And I think it's so important that we read about and understand people's cultures and besides our own, and develop an awareness of diverse human populations and perspectives. I think that a lot of what's going on right now in our current social climate is that, as I said in the beginning of the podcast, we're not being extremely empathetic with one another and understanding, specifically the Black community. We're not understanding their walk of life. And I think right now is the perfect time, the perfect example when to become more empathetic and increase our self-awareness, besides our own bubble. Let's understand where the Black community is coming from. Let's understand their pain, their frustration, their anger. So I'm really going to drill this in now. I'm going to now be talking about, the strange science between empathy and reading and their connection, because I think it is highly relatable to what we're going through right now at this precise moment. The Cambridge English Dictionary defines empathy as the ability to share someone else's feelings or experiences by imagining what it would be like to be in another situation. 2013 saw the publication of a groundbreaking study. Psychologists David Comer-Kidd and Emmanuel Castano at the New School for Social Research in New York revealed to the world that reading makes people more empathetic. Specifically, reading great literary fiction. However, since then, scientists have tried to replicate the study and achieve similar results. And as of 2016, a study co-authored by Tolle Goldstein of Pace University in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology questioned the results. Is this actually true? How could this be possible? While the two studies achieved similar results for long-term fiction readers, more specifically, lifelong fiction readers had better performance on the Reading the Mind in the Eyes test, also known as the RMET, Reading the Mind in the Eyes test. The RMET asked participants to read the emotion in the eyes of an actor in a photo. And Tolle Goldstein admits this could mean fiction readers are better at imagining the emotion of others, since obviously we have to draw a lot of images once we're reading, we're reading books without images in them. However, Tolle Goldstein is quick to point out this could be a correlation and not a causation in an interview with The Atlantic in late 2016. So Tolle Goldstein argues that there's a link between the two, but it's not a cause and effect. Reading a book isn't going to cause you to be more empathetic. Rather, she's saying that they are correlated with one another. They work together. A 2012 study reported in the New York Times shows when reading about ideas associated with the sensory pathway, those areas of our brain light up on an MRI scan. When subjects looked at the Spanish words for perfume and coffee, their primary olfactory cortex lit up, the New York Times reported. It was the same with motion, according to the same article. So I know I just threw a lot of this study, that study, Talia Goldstein, David Comer-Kidd, but let's now break it down a little bit. All of these scientific articles seem to disagree. Does reading make one more empathetic? Does it not? Some psychologists say yes, others say no. Neuroscientists are very interested in how our imagination works. You know, all this complex information means we are very imaginative, and reading is one of the best and most immersive ways to activate our imagination. Books describe sights, smells, textures, sounds, and tastes. And I mean, they have to, right? Because there's no, well, for adult books, there's really no images or pictures. So we have to activate our imagination to really get into the storyline. And I just think this is what psychologist David Comer-Kidd had to say about his experience. He said, I was once at a lunch where Ian Rankin was describing his latest book. I asked about a comic book he had authored and whether he was contemplating writing another one. I remember his response to this day, even though it was several years ago. He said, it was really hard writing a comic book. I had to describe everything to the artist. I had to tell him exactly how things should look. When I write a novel, I can just say it, a dilapidated red barn, and you can imagine whatever you think a barn looks like. Ian Rankin is correct, of course. And psychologist David Comer-Kidd continues to explain, I recall all the red barns I have ever seen and make it fit into the scene described on the page. Throw in the cold weather, gray skies, and the smell of the seaside, and you have a full scene. It is immersive, and a reader must imagine every part of it. I can hear all of you probably, saying, so what? What does this all actually mean, Cynthia? So does reading make us more empathetic? Is it a causation or a correlation? Good question, y'all. It means, all of this to say, it means lifelong fiction readers are very good at imagining every aspect of a book. Everything from the texture of a dress to the state of bread. The rays of goosebumps on someone's skin when they are cold is different to the goosebumps you get from being afraid. Readers imagine emotional states. And knowing what sadness looks like means picturing it while reading it is easier. And it works in reverse. After imagining it, we know when a person is happy in real life. So does this mean readers have more empathy? Not really. It means readers can recognize the signs of emotions. It means readers might be more likely to extend emotional intelligence into imagining themselves in place of another and be slightly more successful because they have had so much practice. And that's basically the answer that I'm going to give to you guys there, or from answers from psychologists David Comer-Kidd and Emmanuel Castano. I personally think that reading can definitely make you become more empathetic. I mean, you are placing yourself in someone else's shoes, especially if it's a different culture than yours, a different language from yours. And language meaning their cultural language, not like English, Spanish, or English and Cantonese, and then like that. Not like, you know what I'm saying? Okay. I'm going to come to a very brief break right now. And when we come back, we're going to discuss how picture books help kids develop literacy skills. We'll be right back.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey guys, and welcome to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So we just got done wrapping up about the strange signs between empathy and reading and how reading can possibly make individuals become more empathetic in real life situations. We're switching gears now a little bit. We're now going to be discussing how picture books help kids develop literacy skills. So, do you remember the picture books that first brought you joy? The ones that were read to you before you could read, or the ones that sparked your imagination for the first time? When you think about these stories, what do you see? I want all of you guys to think, what do you see? My siblings and I were so blessed growing up because my mom was a preschool teacher, so everything that she learned through school, through work, through her training, and all the classroom practices were applied at home with my siblings and I. We were always surrounded by books since we were babies, literally babies. We always read every single day. My mom would play these cassettes, and the cassettes would read aloud the stories, and we would just follow along. And I think this was an imperative moment in my childhood and our childhood. I'm so grateful that my mom exposed us to books at such a young age. I think this early childhood practice of reading is the reason why my siblings and I did so well in school. Unfortunately, I understand that this isn't a luxury that many kids have at home. So that makes me appreciate this childhood memory even more. And for most of us, we might see our favorite characters or the enchanting setting of our childhood books. We see the illustrations brought to life through our memories. The Hungry Caterpillar was one of my favorite books. I had actually a ton of favorite books, but that's really like the first one that I can think of right now on the top of my head, The Hungry Caterpillar. Picture books bring tremendous benefits to kids who are in the early stages of developing their reading skills. Illustrations shown alongside text offer invaluable tools to help kids build understanding, fluency, vocabulary, and other foundational literacy skills. The imagery in a picture book brings the pages to life, serving as a visual roadmap for the story. Even as an adult, I think I still like picture books, okay? So I'm now going to talk to you guys about 5 important benefits picture books bring to children who are learning to read. First one is that it builds language skills. As kids begin to speak and build sentences, they learn to recognize sounds and patterns within spoken language. This is known as phonological awareness and serves as a foundation for learning to read. The rhythmic cadence of many picture books helps kids develop and practice phonological awareness. Kids may start by repeating passages of their favorite picture books, then go on to make up their own similar rhymes or stories. For instance, Dr. Seuss's ABC is a prime example, and the alphabet book. It's a picture book that helps build phonological awareness while practicing their little sounds. Big A, little a, what begins with A? Aunt Annie's alligator, A. I pulled that out just so you guys can get the understanding of what I'm I can't speak. What I'm talking about when it comes to phonological awareness and the rhythmic cadence. You guys could hear it, right, when I say it. Big A, little a, what begins with A? Aunt Annie's alligator, A. You guys hear that rhythmic cadence? So all of that helps kids, build their language skills at a most basic level. Picture books help kids understand that words convey meaning, connecting the pictures in the book with the words on the page. Kids will check pictures on the page for background knowledge or contextual clues for vocabulary, development. They even use the images to learn the names of new objects. You can ask a child, can you show me where the alligator is on the page? Or what letter does the word alligator start with? And that kind of gets, it going. They start to connect the images with the words, and since that's how vocabulary development starts to occur. Second amazing benefit and how picture books help kids develop literacy skills, it's that they help identify sequence. By organizing the sequence of events in a story, kids can practice their ability to comprehend what they read. Mastering the skill starts with identifying beginning, middle, and end, and summarizing key events that take place in order throughout the story. Visual aids and illustrations remind the reader what happened throughout the story and support their ability to confidently retell the key events. As kids hone their sequencing skills, let them look at the pictures to remind them what happened in the story. If they guess incorrectly, then use it as an opportunity to reread the passage. This offers a chance to do an additional check for understanding. And books filled with pictures encourage kids to make predictions and inferences about what's going to happen next. They compare the words with the expressions and settings shown in the pictures to make an informed guess about what comes next in the story. For instance, in Miss Nelson is Missing, readers can infer that Miss Viola Swamp is Miss Nelson in a costume. Clues in the book, such as the coincidental timing of Miss Nelson's disappearance and the appearance of Miss Swamp, help lead to this inference. As you read a book with a child, you are both likely making inferences throughout. The key to helping kids realize when they are making an inference is to talk through the inferences out loud throughout the book. Take breaks to ask questions. Ask, how does Miss Nelson feel when kids misbehave in class? Or why do you think Miss Viola Swamp was outside of Miss Nelson's house? Or what do you think happened to Miss Nelson? So, get them thinking, get them learning, ask them questions to, make sure they're comprehending and understanding the sequence of events. Next benefit of picture books for kids is that it improves comprehension. This one kind of ties into what I was just talking about. There's a lot to learn on the road to becoming a skilled reader. Along with sequencing and summarizing, there are many other essential skills kids must master in order to comprehend the text they read. Some of those skills include sentence construction, problem solving, comparing and contrasting, drawing conclusions, inferring, and much, much more. Books rich with illustrations and photos offer many benefits to help enhance reading comprehension. So here, I'm just going to list some of these for you guys. First one being that picture provide visual clues to help, us discover more about the narrative. Pictures show expressions, unwritten details, setting, and context that help us compare and contrast. These details allow us to analyze more complex details of character development, and illustrations can provide important background knowledge and offer contextual cues based on what's happening in the story. And this helps us, kind of like read between the lines. I know many of us have heard of that term. or that phrase, read between the lines, to find meaning that may not be explicitly stated in the text. And the fifth final reason of why picture books are amazing for literacy skills in kids is that it just helps spark a love of reading. When you think about your favorite childhood book, what comes to mind? You may see a sparkling fish with rainbow colors, or a tree that gives everything in the name of selfless affection. Maybe you see your favorite characters or other worldly settings. The illustrations of a picture book can be enchanting, they can be fun and inspiring, they can tell a story of their own, and many of us remember picture books as the books that made us first fall in love with reading. Like I said, mine was The Hungry Caterpillar. One key ingredient of picture books that we shouldn't discount is the benefit of pictures and sparking joy and creating a fun and engaging reading experience for kids. Picture books do a better job of holding the attention of kids reading or of kids learning to read than books without pictures. And reading picture books with kids on a regular basis, ideally daily, can help them self-monitor their behavior until they can sit through a whole story and focus on the events. When kids enjoy particular books or stories, they may ask to read the same book again and again. And this is a good sign that this book sparks interest and intrigue for a young reader. So I would suggest let kids choose the stories they love, read them often, and offer options to explore new books as well. And I actually forgot that was number 4, not 5th. I obviously cannot count. So I'm going to cut into a very brief break right now. When we come back, I'm going to share with you guys the final amazing benefit of picture books for kids. And then we'll move on to my book recommendation. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So let me share with you guys the 5th and final benefit of reading picture books to kids, and that is to help boost social emotional learning. So important, so imperative, even for adults. The subject matter in picture books can introduce social cues and cultural differences that encourage social emotional development. Books that model social behaviors help hone social language skills and reinforce positive behavior. For instance, in the book, The Name Jar, it's a young Korean girl living in America, and she's teased about her name, Eunhae. A passage from the book reads, "She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red." Marked by this bullying, she decides to search for a different name. And throughout the story, her classmates and family show gentle kindness, support, and encouragement for Eunhae until she is ready to introduce herself and her culture as Eunhae to the rest of her classmates. The Name Jar offers a chance for kids to practice empathy for Eunhae and observe the outcome of kind, encouraging behavior compared to the negative effects of bullying. Picture books also explore difficult subjects like fear, grief, taking risks, building friendships, self-control, and so much more. These books offer outlets for kids to explore, challenging subjects in a format that's approachable to them. The illustrations in a book can help kids relate to the characters and setting portrayed. Picture books featuring protagonists of different ethnicities, identities, races, cultures, and abilities allow kids to relate to the text where they see their own image reflected back. Own voices books written from the perspective of an author who shares a certain identity can provide an experience that's profoundly relatable to kids' different experiences. For example, I'm going to give you guys another example. Grace for President allows young girls of color to see themselves as future leaders in positions of power. And that is so important for young, children to see an image that reflects back how they look, because they're reading these books, and if there's no one that looks like them, they're probably thinking like, so this can't be me, So it's really important to have people of color in these books and diversity in these books, people with, in a wheelchair or using a hearing aid, things of that nature. Let's expand, besides just what the color of the skin is. Let's really diversify and include everybody's voices in these books, especially as children. It's so important. So with all of that being said, again, the 5 reasons or 5 benefits of how picture books help kids develop literacy skills. It helps build kids' language skills. It helps children identify sequence. It helps their reading comprehension. It helps them, spark a love of reading, and it helps boost social emotional learning. All of these are just so imperative to the cognitive development of children, especially in their early ages of development. So with all of that being said, I'm now going to get into my book recommendation. I said in the beginning of the podcast, this is a book of poems, and it is called Love is Life. And that is actually an acronym. So it's LOVEISLIFE. And then together it's spelled Love is Life by Dr. Chill. And the acronyms stand for Living on Valued Energy is Surely Love in Full Effect. Let that sink in, y'all. Okay. Again, love is life. Living on valued energy is surely love in full effect. And just the title alone enticed me so much, because I don't know what it is about that phrase that really just spoke to me. And I was like, I need to get this book. The author, Dr. Chill, is actually Jhené Aiko's father. For those of you who are not aware of who Jhené Aiko is, she is actually one of my favorite singers. She is a really popular R&B soul music artist, and they're very into spirituality. And her dad wrote this book, so I actually found out about the book through Jhené Aiko's page, and I was like, I need to get a book. I need to get it, So here, I'm going to read to you guys the synopsis of the book, pulled from Amazon. Dr. Chill is a timeless, spaceless, Aboriginal Turtle Island native from the Midwestern state of Ohio. He is also a holistic physician, a natural-born healer, a soletic poet, philosopher, spiritualist, aromatherapist, crystal lover and collector, musician, and singer. He is the co-creator and founder of Chilombo Love, a beautiful, talented, and wonderful DNA seeds blessing the cosmos with their awesome talents. He writes to write things. He writes to eliminate. He writes to make you think and challenge yourself and be the best you can be, and to acknowledge the quantum level of reality, the be of to be. Let that sink in, y'all, because I know that was a lot. Some of you, I may have lost some of you halfway through me reading the synopsis. Probably once I got to, he's the co-creator and founder of Chilombo Love, 8 beautiful, talented, and wonderful DNA seeds, blessing the cosmos with their awesome talents. He's speaking on his children. He has 8 kids, and he refers to them as Chilombo Love, Chilombo being their last name, 8 beautiful, talented, and wonderful DNA seeds, his seeds, 8 children. And I love his wordplay. Like, I love it. I didn't know when I first initially like ordered the book. I ordered it through Amazon. I didn't know what to expect out of this book. To be honest, I really only bought this book because of his daughter, Jhené Aiko. I'm a huge Jhené Aiko fan, and she was promoting her dad's book. So I was like, hey, why not give it a shot? As well as, the title, Love is Life. I was already enticed. Living unvalued energy is surely love in full effect. And when I ordered this book, I ordered it right when they released it. So like there weren't any reviews I can like read upon. And I thought the book was going to be like a self-help book. I thought the book was going to be kind of like what is a spiritual enlightenment book? I'll take that back. But I thought the book was going to be similar to The Power of Now, which is the book I read previously. And it wasn't the case. When I opened it, I was pleasantly surprised to see that it was a book of poems. And I've never been into poems. Like I said, I've never been into poems. High school made me hate them. But if you are a poetry lover, you'll like this book. And even if you're not a poetry lover, because this is the first poetry book I've ever read, and I really enjoyed it. So if you're a hardcore poetry lover or you're a novice to it, I think you'll all like this book and really enjoy it. This book is very introspective. It makes you question reality and makes you analyze yourself, your internal thoughts and emotions, and I really like that. Dr. Chill, the author, he uses a lot of acronyms and fun wordplay. I mean, the prime example is the title of this book. There's a little bit of calligraphy in the book as well, which I enjoyed. With all that being said, I think this book some people may not enjoy for the following reason. You need to go in reading this book of poems, with an open mind and an open heart. You need to go in reading this book to understand and learn, not to criticize. There are a lot of spiritual elements in this book. I say the majority of it is like a spiritual enlightenment book. And some people may hear that and it may, they may become hesitant to pick it up because, I don't know, due to their spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs, whatever it may be. But this is applicable to everybody and anybody. It doesn't matter what religion you believe in. None of that, okay? I think that would be the only reason why some people may not enjoy it. And I say that because when I checked Amazon this morning, I read some of the reviews, and a couple of ladies who rated the book 1 star, which I was shocked because I'm like, what? They rated it 1 star because they were saying that their religion, I don't know, stuff about the religion. And I just need to say that if you plan on picking this book up, you need to go in with an open mind and an open heart so you are able to reap the benefits of his words, and so you are able to enjoy the book. So despite what religion you practice and believe in, I think everyone can benefit a thing or two from reading these poems. I think the language Dr. Chill uses in his book and his poems is very metaphorical, lots of symbolism. Like I said, just from me reading the synopsis of him talking about he's a co-creator and founder of Chilumbo Love. Like, he really just makes you think about what the heck he's talking about. Like, my DNA seeds, like my children. He could have said children, but he said my DNA seeds. So there's a lot of wordplay. It's very metaphorical, lots of symbolism. If you really want to reap the benefits of reading this book and take the most out of this book, you have to let each poem kind of marinate in your mind so that you can understand the meaning of what Dr. Chill is trying to convey. Don't just like rush through the book, through the poems. Take your time with each one. Try to understand the underlying message of each poem. I know there were for sure a few poems in there that I was like, what the heck did this man mean? What did he just say? I don't understand. There are definitely a few adjectives he uses in the book that I don't know. So I'll just quickly Google them. And then once I understand the meaning of the word, I'll go back to the poem and I'll reread it, because I'm really trying to, gain the most benefits out of reading the poem. And throughout the book, there's a mixture of long poems and short poems. Some poems are 3 pages long, while others are only 2 lines. So there's a good mixture in there. It's not just a whole book with a whole bunch of letters clumped together in a page. And I think another reason why I like this book so much is that it's visually very easy on the eye and it's very pleasing to the eye. And what I mean by that is that the font size that he chose to write in his book is a lot larger than most. He uses different fonts for each poem. He adds calligraphy in there. So with all of those different tweaks in the book, it just makes it very visually pleasing, and it makes it very easy for the readers to follow, in my opinion. You don't feel as overwhelmed with looking at a page and, there being a whole bunch of words clumped together. Well, at least for me, sometimes I feel overwhelmed when I flip on a page and there's just a whole bunch of tiny words printed on there. Because then I'll look at it and I just immediately I'm oh my God, I have to get through all these words. I don't know. Are any of you guys like this, or is it just me? Let me know in the comments. You can order this book off Amazon, and as of this morning, this book was priced at $22, which I believe that was around the same price I paid for. So the book is priced at $22. It is on Amazon. And again, Love is Life by Dr. Chill. Highly recommend it. A book of poems. Get into it. This book has literally helped me with my anxiety so much, especially during these times. So Love is Life by Dr. Chill. Living on valued energy is surely love in full effect. And you guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode here at the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. I really hope you guys enjoyed what I had to discuss on today's show. If you liked what we talked about in regards to reading and all of the amazing health benefits, please don't forget to share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff, because that tremendously helps the show. And I wish you all a very happy, healthy, and successful weekend ahead. And I'll catch you guys here for the next one.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.